Turn it on the TV, so give it 10
Oh,
seconds and,
just come-
yeah, give it 10 seconds and start the
Oh,
meeting.
Bruce said there, okay.
Yep. You can go ahead and get started.
To join a conference now,
Okay,
if you are
so I'll read the introduction. Good evening, this is the open meeting of the Finance Committee, which is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus, we've been advised by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. It's the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, we are convening by GoToMeeting as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. And with us this evening are members Larry Morrison, Jared Burns, Joni Light, Jim Waddick, Mike Hager, Kevin White, myself, Kathy Neal, our secretary, recording secretary Joanne Everson, town clerk Lynn Gerard, the assessor Ann Murphy, finance director Barbara Barry, and town administrator Jeff Bridget. So
Kathy?
yes.
It's really Kevin Smith, not Kevin White.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking of someone else, I guess. Sorry.
Okay.
But, yeah, Kevin, you're here. Sorry. Anyway. All right.
Kathy, look, it has the wrong meeting number, so he may be joining us in a moment.
Who is?
Bruce Boyson.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you sort of have to write down which meeting is which. But this number, I believe, is for our next 5 or 6
It's
meetings.
Yes.
a different number than last week, but it's the same number
It is
for
a
the next
different number, but I believe it's going to be the next 5, yes. So, all right. I don't believe we have any reserve from fund transfers tonight, so we can go right into the review of department budgets. I believe we have the top of page 2, which is the top button. And that is, let's see, who is that person? Jared, you are the liaison.
Yes, hello.
So, if you'd like to start us off.
There's not much to report. I reached out to the accountant and I haven't heard back yet, but really the only increase comes from the salaries, 7% for department head and 2.5% for the wages. Overall, 6.1% increase. I'll open up for discussion.
Anybody have any discussion? Oh, wait, I guess we've got to the list here. Larry?
I have nothing.
Jared? Jody? Joni?
I lost you. No, I'm good. I have no question.
Oh, you did, okay. Jim?
Yeah, I had a question. Maybe Jeff can answer this. Under purchase of services, the existing budget right now the budget was $28.50 and the balance is $25.60. Is there some expectation that we're going to use up the rest of the money? Because otherwise, we actually increased it only by $50, but is there something we're going to spend the money on that we anticipate? Because they haven't used very much of what the budget amount for this year to begin with.
I'll ask Barbara to address that, if that's okay.
Sure. Okay. It's not a lot of money, so
No, but in this year's budget, he had budgeted $2,500 for tuition reimbursement, and at this point in time, that has not been used. So that's why you're seeing the bulk of the budget still remaining.
That explains it, Barbara. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike?
I have no questions.
Okay, Kevin?
I just have one. In the salaries and wages item, what is that for? He has a secretary?
There's an assistant in the office, yes.
So it's
15 hours. Yeah, 15 hours a week, and she mainly does the accounts payable warrant.
I think that's been there for some time, hasn't it?
That position has been there forever, yes.
Yeah, but it just, what do we call it? You know,
What do we call it?
I'm good. No, I didn't recall the position, and I was wondering if it was a shared position with other offices.
No.
I'm good, Pappy.
Okay. I don't think Bruce or Karen have joined us yet, have they? No. Okay. Jared, would you like to make a motion on the total
Yes.
amount?
Yes, I move that the Finance Committee recommend the Town Council that we recommend the budget and the amount of $102,735.
Is there a second?
Second for the town accountant.
And who, can you say your number? Remember, say your name.
Yeah, second.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, I forgot.
And I almost put down a W again for your last name. I'm really off tonight. All right, any further discussion? If not, roll call vote. Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Me, yes. Larry?
Yes.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0. Thank you. Right. All right. Moving on to the Board of Assessors, and we do have Ann, the Chief Assessor, here today, if we have questions. And Jared, is that you too now? That's Larry. Larry, you are the liaison on that one.
Yes. The assessor's budget is a good example, maybe an excellent example, of the fact that government does not offer products. It delivers services, and services are developed, designed, and delivered by people to and for people. I think accounts for why the significant adjustment in the year budget for the assessor's office is found in recognition of talent in the salaries section. That is for upward adjustments and longevity. Elsewhere in the budget, there are modest changes in the vision software, the service therefore, and in the personal property software support. There, the terminology can be misleading. It is not support for personal property of a staff member. It is support for software tracking of the personal property throughout the community. I see no reason not to support the budget as proposed.
Okay, questions? Joni?
Just one. On the software charge, is that an annual charge? Is it a new charge? And is it something that we're going to get, year after year?
I do know that
Okay.
it is.
I think Ann might be here. Yep, is that you, Ann?
Yes, that's me, Kathy. I didn't hear the first part of Joni's question. Was it the personal property software or both the personal property and vision?
The software support.
Okay. The RRC software support is going to be an annual fee. What happened was we had a software conversion with our Vision software, which we used to have the real estate and the personal property under Vision. When we went through the conversion, the personal property didn't convert over very well during the conversion for all of their clients. And they also instituted a user fee, like a license fee for any outside vendors who use their software. So it was a choice of either paying Vision $9,000 to $12,000 a year to have RRC use the Vision software, or we go with RRC and use their own software. We went that route because RRC supplied us with their software free of charge, and there's only an annual support fee of $1,500 a year. So it's a more economical way of going, and actually it's a much smoother process now. It's a live database for both them and us, so there's no time constraint on turnover of getting the products back in time to submit to the DOR. So it's actually been a win-win for our office.
Thank you. And then just to follow up on that, is it like is it a set amount for X number of years, or like do you anticipate that going up at any point?
I don't anticipate it going up in the next year or two. Their history seems to be a very small increment, maybe every couple of years, about $200 or $300, but it didn't seem to be much of a concern.
Okay, thank you.
Jim?
Yeah, I did have a question, but it's similar to the last question I had. It's probably, again, a timing issue. But I did notice that under purchase of services, we have a current budget of $27,249, and we have a balance still remaining on the books of about $23,000. Is this a timing thing that we're expecting between now and the end of the fiscal year to pay out that money, or what am I missing?
Yeah, there's a couple of line items there, like the certification courses. One of our certification. No, I'm sorry. ATB cases. We always set aside about $2,000 for ATB cases. I'm happy to report that we haven't had to use any of that money this year, but we just never know year to year for abatement purposes of how many abatement cases may go to the appellate tax board. So we always have that $2,000 line item there. But again, I'm happy to say we didn't have to use it. Also, our commercial inspections and our data collection. So the commercial inspections of 2,500 and the data collection of 9,900. That hasn't happened yet. That usually would take place in March or April, but because of COVID, we can't have our data collectors out in the field doing that work right now. So that's kind of hanging out there. Those are really my two big items that haven't been tapped into yet.
Thank you. That explains it to me. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Mike?
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay, Kevin?
Just a question about, you just talked about how you can't do the incremental values because, you can't get your people in the field. Has the state actually addressed that yet? Are they going to let us slide if, this goes until September or October before we can do any type of valuation?
Yeah, we haven't heard much on that part of it yet. The inspections that I was talking about is for the one that's the 9,900. That's what we call our cyclical inspection, which is where once every 10 years, every property in town needs to be re-inspected. So we do about 450 properties a year. I don't know if we're, hopefully maybe by this summer we'll be able to go. So I'm not sure if I can encumber that money and get that work done. But that's on the cyclical inspection. So that's a rolling inspection. Every year we do 450 of them.
Right.
So I don't, state hasn't really addressed that part of it. I don't know if they're going to give us like an extra year on the 10-year cycle, seeing that this year has been disrupted. But I'm confident that we'll be able to get the 450 done, hopefully over the summer. If once the COVID ban is lifted, I've got them all lined up, ready to go. So I'm confident that we'll still be able to complete them this year. But again, we haven't heard anything from the state yet.
And do you have any idea if they're even talking about it at all?
Nope, I haven't heard anything about cyclical inspections. They still expect us to do what we can for inspections by being, trying to do it from our desktop. Sales inspections we can do, like looking at the multiple listings, kind of going through the deeds, kind of being a little, putting our detective hat on and doing it that way, as opposed to actually physically going into the houses. A picture tells 1,000 words, so we're looking at the MLS and doing our best on that route.
You can use the police department's drone.
Well, that's possible. I don't know how the residents would feel about that, but funny enough, I did take a webinar today, and they were saying the future of assessing, and drones were in the future of assessing. So time will tell, Kevin.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm all set. Jared, I think I missed you.
Yeah, sorry.
No question.
Trouble connecting.
Cameron here?
Yeah, am I on now?
Oh, yeah, you
Yep.
go ahead.
Okay, actually, I apologize, but I couldn't get my computer to work. I don't even know what budget we're on.
Oh, assessors.
Okay, all right. I came in at the end, so I'm just going to pass at this point.
Okay, then back to Jared. You had any questions, Jared?
No questions.
Okay, are we ready for a motion, Larry?
Yes. I
Would you like to take it?
move that the Finance Committee recommend to the 2020 annual meeting voters for the assessor's budget a total of $150,813.
Kevin Smith, seconds.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, Larry, your vote, please.
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Evan?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And Kathy, yes. So that's 8-0. Thank you. I don't usually like to go out of order, but I do see poor Lynn just sitting there. So why don't we jump to the next page and take Lynn so she can go on her way. I think that's Bruce, but I think that we can. Let me see. Yeah, that Bruce is the liaison. So I guess we'll just go with questions. So first, you have two categories: your town clerk and elections and registration. Lynn, so if you want to just talk very briefly about the town clerk department first, if you want to highlight any increases, decrease. I see there is a decrease in supplies. Just I want to mention that.
So basically, the budget for fiscal year 2021, there is one oversight on my part for the purchase of services, and that would be for an amount of $1,100, and that would be for the onboard portal software. I was under the impression that that was something that was coming out of the IT budget, but it was brought to my attention that would be coming out of my budget. So that would be an increase under the purchase of services for the town clerk.
So what was that amount again? $1,100?
It was $1,100. It's a yearly software program for the onboard.
Okay, let's see. I have to do some math here.
So it would be $1,973 under the purchase of services,
Okay.
and the department total would be $1,114,112 for the total.
Say that again? It'll be 114?
114, 112,
112, okay.
00. So that would be the total for the town clerk budget.
Okay. And what is that decrease in supplies there? Well, it's just a little bit, $175. Maybe it's not very
The town
significant.
clerk,
Yeah,
the dog maintenance software program had gone down.
oh, okay.
It was budgeted for $426. It was down. It's down to $393.
Okay.
That's for that decrease. And then the registration fees has been increased $80.
Okay.
Kathy, I just want to go back to so I've got the file that I'm updating, okay? So I just want so I took the purchase of services, just added $1,100, so $1,173, which is $1,973 for that line, correct?
That would be correct, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see if there's questions. Joni, did you have any other questions?
I didn't.
Joni, you all set?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Jim?
No questions, thanks.
Mike?
Yeah, just refresh me on what the software is and how helpful and useful it's been since you implemented it.
This was basically just incorporated last summer. This was something that the previous town administrator suggested we purchase. It's an onboard software for all boards and committees, and basically it's now giving us history of how many years somebody has been on various boards, and it's quite helpful with tracking, those people that have been on boards and committees, instead of just keeping an Excel sheet type thing. It actually gives the history.
Okay.
I believe it's on the website, isn't it?
It's on our website, yes.
Yes. You all set then, Mike?
The website. All right, I'll go look for that, but I'm all set. Thank you.
Yes, it is on there. Kevin?
So Jeff, this is actually directed to you. Are you okay with the $1,100 increase?
If that's what it takes to maintain the software and the town clerk is recommending it, yes.
Okay, great. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Karen?
No question.
I think I already asked them. Larry?
All set.
And Jared?
Well said.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion since Bruce is not here?
Kevin Smith will make a motion to approve the town clerk's budget at $114,112.
Larry Morris.
Jim Waddell will second that.
I think Larry beat you to it.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, we'll roll call vote. Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And Kathy, yes. That's 8-0. Thank you. Now on to elections and registrations, Lynn. And I think most people know that there's several elections, but maybe you want to highlight what elections are coming up in the fiscal year.
Right. So for fiscal year 2021, the elections, of course, we have the state primary coming up in September, and also your presidential in November, and then our annual town election, which would be next spring. And basically, for the increases, a lot of it is additional staffing that we're required to have for now our early voting and absentee voting. Processing those ballots, we found that we do need the additional staff to be able to process them. They usually start early in the morning between 8 and 9, and they basically stay throughout the day, depending on how many ballots we get in. They're there the majority of the day processing those ballots, because your regular election workers are busy with those people that are actually walking into the polls. So that's the increase on, for the salaries and wages for that line item. Everything else basically is more or less level funded for those. We have our constables, that's gone up a little bit. That basically is, just because of the amount of elections that we do have coming up next year.
Okay. So Kathy?
Yes, Kevin, why don't you start?
We'll make a motion to approve the elections and registration at $33,531.
Okay. Is there a second?
Larry
Mike
Hager.
Hager, second.
Okay, who said it first?
Mike Hager.
Okay, comments or questions? Kevin?
I'm good.
All right, Karen?
All set.
Do have a question. Do you anticipate, or has the state given any indication of furthering the mail-in ballots for other elections besides the local ones? That because of the virus, but other states have it and do it successfully.
Correct. So basically, there are two bills right now that are in front of the legislature concerning early voting by mail. And basically, one of them would incorporate the state actually mailing out to all residents. Those that, of course, are unenrolled, they would have to contact your local town clerk to let them know what ballot style they would like. The other bill is for the town to incur the cost of mailing out those ballots. And roughly, you're looking at an estimate of $5,000, per election to mail them out to every registered voter. So that's something that's still in front, and we will find that out probably over the next few months.
Okay, thank you. Larry, question?
No questions.
Jared?
No question.
Joni?
No question.
Jim?
No questions.
And Mike?
All set, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Let's see, voting. Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Evan?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And Kathy, 8-0, it passes. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you very much, and stay safe, everyone.
Thanks, and I forgot to thank Ann. She's still there, but she's probably lost.
I'm still here, but
Yep.
but thank you. I was
Thank you, too.
waiting for support for Lynn.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
All right, good night.
Good night.
All right, back to page 2, the finance director. I know Barbara's still there. So, and finance director is Jared.
Yes. Okay, quick summary. The department head salaries have gone up 2.5%, but there's been an overall reduction in the salaries and wages otherwise. There is one new line item which I'll let Barbara explain, but it's for a lockbox in the amount of $15,000. Everything else is level funded.
Okay, Barbara, are you there?
Barbara?
I'm here.
Yeah, do you want to explain a little bit about the lockbox?
Yeah, so the lockbox and the outsourcing of the bill printing is something that I've wanted to do for the past several years. And basically, the majority of communities actually do not print bills in-house. We print bills in-house, we stuff them in-house, we mail them in-house. And then as far as lockbox, again, the majority of communities actually have a lockbox company where bills that are mailed from taxpayers actually are mailed to a P.O. box. The mail is opened by the lockbox company, and then the checks are deposited directly into the town's account, and we would receive an electronic file for posting purposes. The reason that I'm asking to move forward with both of these things at this point in time is, as you're all aware, the workload in the finance department has increased considerably over the past several years. It's becoming more and more difficult to keep up with the workload, with the added responsibilities and requirements of the department. And I believe that this is a more cost-effective option than actually hiring additional staff, which is the point that we are presently at. Now, there will be some savings going forward, but at this point in time, I'm not sure what the true savings are and how quickly I can get this implemented if it is approved at town meeting. There will probably be some bills that are going to have to be purchased depending on the turnaround of this if it's approved. But basically, if you look at my budget, it would be a savings on the bills that we have to order, and there would be a reduction in the cost of envelopes because that would, we wouldn't be mailing all those bills. We'd still have to purchase some envelopes because we do mail other things. But that's basically the reasoning behind it, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
I have a few questions. Just to clarify, I think you had made the point to me that if there's any issues with the billing or discrepancies, then the service provider will forward to your office directly, so the townsfolk are not having to deal with this lockbox company to handle any disputes. Is that correct?
Right. So the taxpayer would not be dealing with the lockbox company at all. That would be seamless to them. The only thing that they would be doing is now when you get a bill from us, you have the reply envelope in the bill that has mail it to Town of Sturbridge at 308 Main Street. When you do when you have a lockbox, it would be Town of Sturbridge, and it would be a P.O. box, and it's usually it would be mailed to Boston. We would obviously, if we went this route, we would have to do some education and, letting people know. Now, some people, we've had those reply envelopes for a really long time, so a lot of people will still mail their bills directly to 308 Main Street, and that's fine, and we'll still have those people that, come directly into Town Hall. But yes, it's seamless to the taxpayer. The taxpayer would still be dealing with us in the office.
Okay,
The type of bills that they wouldn't be able to handle, and I'm not exactly sure how this works, but for those of you that pay your bills online through your bank, you put a reference in the corner, and usually those are remitted without any paper check. If those were to go to the lockbox company would not be able to identify without the actual paper check as to what the person was paying. So those would be then mailed directly to the town.
Okay. I had another question regarding the services. Is this something that depends on how many people use it, or the size of the town, or is it a flat rate? And as we grow, the service should remain the same.
So the cost for the bill printing would be based on. That would be standard. As we added more accounts, the price might go up incrementally, but I mean, the bills that we send out are pretty standard and equal, you know, year to year, depending on the type of bill. The lockbox, it would be based on the pieces that they process. So that could change, you know, depending how many people actually process through lockbox. So we're not going to be charged. If we mailed out 10,000 excise bills, it's only going to be however many people process through the lockbox. So, you know, we encourage people to pay through our online bill pay system because it, you know, it's cheaper than a stamp. You know, it's 50 cents to mail an envelope. It's 25 cents if you pay a bill on the online bill pay with your bank account information. So again, there would have to be an educational component, but it doesn't. Those people that like to come into town hall to pay, those people are still going to come into town hall. It'll be interesting, though, after we get back into having the town hall opened, because obviously people are now conducting business a different way with my office, and it'll be interesting to see how that transpires going forward.
And just last clarification, so the $15,000 may not all be spent if depending on the participation of this lockbox.
Right. So I had hoped by this point in time, pre-COVID, my thought process was that I would have contacted some different companies and actually got multiple bids for this service. That has not happened at this point in time. And I would still do that, but obviously that's not happening probably in the next couple of months. But then again, there would be the offset of costs on the other end. And, you know, whatever I don't use for envelopes and having to buy the bills, then that money would just stay in the budget. It would be turned back over at the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Joni, question?
Thank you for explaining the lockbox. Just one question on it, though. So does this mean, you said that a lot of the bill printing and the envelope stuffing and all that stuff was done in-house, and you're saying now that it'll be done by the lockbox company, right?
There's actually two different companies. There would be a company that would actually print and mail our bills, and then there would be another company that actually collects the payment. So it'd be two different companies.
Okay. So, but that was previously done in your office, right?
Correct.
Right. So I don't know the answer. I'm just curious. You know, did you have a machine or anything that stuffed those envelopes?
We do, but it's a very time-consuming process. So, for instance, we send out, on commitment one of excise, we send out almost 10,000 bills. We have to pull doubles for all the bills so that we're not sending 10,000 individual envelopes. So if you have 5 cars in your family, you'll notice that, you know, if you have multiple vehicles, they come in one envelope. We're doing all of that work manually. And then, you know, stuffing them takes several days and multiple people to pull doubles. It takes quite a while, several hours, to actually stuff them through the machine. And then it takes, again, several hours to actually put them through the postage machine and sort them via pre-sort by zip code. So there's a lot of work involved. It doesn't just happen over, you know, it basically, when we have a big mailing, we usually take about 2 weeks to get it out. It usually takes that long, and it's multiple people.
Wow, okay. I was just curious. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, Jim?
Yeah, I had a question, Barbara. In the area of real estate taxes, who coordinates this with the financial institution that maybe has the mortgage and is holding the escrow on the taxes that are due every 6 months? Who does that? Right. Is it up to the taxpayer to receive the bill and get it to the bank, to the finance, or whoever happens to hold the mortgage? How does that work?
So that wouldn't change if we implemented this, but basically what happens is by law, we're required to send a tax bill to the assessed owner, regardless of whether or not they have a mortgage. We do not know who the individual mortgage companies are. We don't have that information. And as people refinance, it would be impossible for us to, know who has what mortgage company. But what the mortgage companies do is they use tax services who basically get electronic files from us, and we provide those files, and then they provide the information to the banks, and it's all pretty seamless. At this point in time, we've already received, I think there's basically 3 big escrow service companies, and we've received 2 of the 3 for the May 1st payment. So that would not change, and like I said, those companies actually, they request a file from us 2 times a year for sure. Sometimes they'll ask for a 3rd file so that they can check delinquencies.
Thank you. Mike?
Well, yeah, I guess having worked for companies that sends out millions of bills a year for my career, I understand the arguments for and against the lockbox. So, again, you talked about increased responsibilities of your staff. So could you maybe help me understand what added tasks and things are coming to that staff that is taking up the time? And then, again, which bills, are we talking real estate, water and sewer, automobile, all the bills that you typically send out are covered, and what's the actual volume of bills that you process?
So the workload the responsibilities have increased, not over the past months, but over the years. There's just a lot involved. I mean, we're doing payroll, which takes, there's a lot of work involved with payroll. We're tracking everyone's accruals. We're tracking everyone's health insurance and their disability insurance and all the insurances they have, annuities with the teachers. There's a lot involved with payroll. We basically have a hard time keeping up at certain times of the year. So, for instance, the excise, like I just said, we sent out 10,000 bills. What goes out comes back in. We had a very difficult time this year keeping up. Again, it's constant with excise. I'm very active in my association, the Mass Collectors and Treasurers Association. I actually also teach, and as part of my role, when we talk to new treasurers and collectors, and when we have classes and we talk about what happens and doesn't happen in individual offices. Believe me when I say that I'm in the minority of those that do all the things that we do internally. People for a very long time have been outsourcing bill printing, and for a very long time have had lockbox. And the individuals that I talk to assure me, they actually wonder how I keep up. And like I said, sometimes I wonder that too. I mean, Jeff can attest to the fact that during excise in the past, a month or so ago, in February, I mean, we could not keep up with the volume of the mail. I can give you an example of, the office is extremely busy with phone calls. I've been tracking it more because of working remotely. So, instead of answering the phone every time it rings, at this point in time, we're calling in a couple times a day to get phone messages in return. And we're averaging between 20 and 60 phone calls per day. That's a lot of phone calls, and that takes a very long time to deal with everyone individually. A lot of the HR functions are done in my department. I mean, Jeff deals with the, personnel issues and that aspect. If it's, negotiating a union contract, but implementing and following through on all those things, that's done by my office. There's just a lot of responsibilities, and, it's like I said, there's things that we could be doing that we're not. because we just don't have time. And, I just think it's, I understand it's $15,000. It might be lower than that. Again, I wish I had better information for you at this point. I thought I would, but, I think that for years, we've probably been at the point where the office needed 2.5 people besides myself, and yet we've been functioning and trying to get by, and it's just kind of, we're at the point where I think we're beyond that. And so this is my
people who just put it in the envelope that's in there and mail it off, not a problem. It gets processed through the lockbox. The folks who like to come in and pay their bills in person, you'll still accept payments in person in the office and be able to process those, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, nothing's going to change other than where they mail the bill. And if they still mail it to 8 Main Street, we're gonna open it and we're gonna post it like we normally do.
And I assume that the majority of payments are coming by mail versus in person and or through your current online portal?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, Kevin.
So my concern is more with the audit part of this. How do we confirm that everything they receive goes through to our bank accounts and make it to our records?
In what way? I mean,
Well,
it would be, so if you, I mean, you're breaking up a little, sorry.
I'm just curious. I mean, right? You send out 10,000 bills. They receive 10,000 bills. Yeah, how do we confirm that they actually got all 10,000 and transferred all that money to us? How is the auditing handled, and how will our auditors look at this?
Well, so the audit is going to be the same way that it would be if, so right now we receive payments through online bill pay, or we receive payments through the escrow companies that we were talking about earlier. So we get a file. We're going to get a file from them, and then the total on the file is going to match the deposit that they make and they put into our bank account every day. So that's the audit, is the file versus the deposit. And then the other check would basically be, and again, I've not had, from my conversations with other treasurer collectors that have lockbox, that's not something that has ever been raised as an issue. I mean, if there was a payment, I guess it would be the same thing if someone mailed a payment to my office, and this happens occasionally, where someone will say they mailed me a payment, and then they get a demand from me because we didn't receive the payment. It would be the same thing. They don't have a canceled check, meaning I didn't get the payment, but somewhere between them putting it in their mailbox and it getting to town hall, it didn't arrive. So, I guess that's the check and balance too. But I guess I'm not sure, other than payments go through their processing and they send us a file, and the check, what they deposit equals what they receive.
And how do you expect auditors to react to that?
React to what?
Well, because now you're taking something and outsourcing it, basically. And I know you're saying lots of other towns do it, but this is something we've done and had actual control over forever. Now we're ceding that control, and it's understandably why, but it's, now there's a change in our process. And what does that do from, our auditors' viewpoints?
Like I said, it's standard. I will, interestingly, today, the DOR issued City and Town, which is it comes out at least once a month. It's a newsletter. And one of the things, I'm going to try to bring it up while we're speaking, but one of the things that was suggested by Department of Revenue in light of the current situation we all find ourselves in is that they were basically recommending for communities that do not have lockbox, implement it. And that was right from the Department of Revenue.
If I may, Madam, I'm sorry, when Mr. Smith is done, I have a comment.
Hey,
I'm good.
You all set?
good.
Okay, Jeff? Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you. I used Lockbox, or our town did in the last job I had, and it worked very well. Again, it's cheaper to pay a company who has redundancy, who does this for numerous towns, so they have resources to pick up other towns as they go. It's better for us than to hire someone and have to train them and bring them up to speed and find a desk for them. And it's a better long-term solution than adding staff. Also, given what we're going through today, Lockbox provides a good way for the town to operate because the money comes in, it goes into our account, we get a file sent to us daily or weekly on who paid, we mark it against our records, and we move on. No one touches anything, and it's a much more effective way, and a much more, and I'm surprised that your auditors haven't recommended this to you already because it's part of your, disaster contingency plan. Just like Munis is our software program that we can use anywhere because it's in the cloud. I think these are programs and practices that towns pick up because it does provide a more robust operational experience for the staff and a better long-term solution rather than hiring more people. And the auditors, as long as there's a good check and balance system in some way for a taxpayer to make sure that they have an avenue to address concerns or if a lost check or so forth, and most companies have that. I would be surprised that the company we've talked to doesn't have that process in place already. Auditors look at this as just another avenue, just another tool in the toolbox, as long as there's a good control feature from the company.
So I did just find the remote deposit services, again, what was in the city and town today. Due to closure to the public with many city and town halls, the treasurer collector should consider engaging with a financial institution to use a lockbox and remote deposit service if one is not already being used. This bank-provided service collects tax and other payments by mail, processes the payments to the bank collection system, automatically deposits payments into a municipal bank account, and produces daily receipt reports that are sent to the treasurer collector.
Are you all set, Kevin?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Hey, Bruce, I think you've joined us, right?
Yeah, here.
Do you have any questions of our Barbara or on her budget?
Yeah, I heard it all. I heard most of the town clerk, but I heard all of this one, but I don't have any questions.
Okay, thanks. Karen?
I think Jeff answered my question with his comments. Is it fair to say that the cost of this lockbox is actually going to be cheaper than paying staff to do this job, hiring them, training them? At the end of the day, is it a savings?
I think long-term it will be, yes.
Okay. That's it, thanks.
Hey, Larry, I don't think you've commented.
No questions.
Okay. All right, are we ready for a motion then? Garrett, I think this is your category.
I will motion the Finance Committee recommends the town meeting to approve the Finance Director's budget in the amount of $270,980.
Kevin Smith, second.
Kevin Smith, second. Any further discussion? If not, Jared, roll call vote.
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Bruce is on mute again.
Oh,
Yes, sorry about that.
okay.
I
Karen?
just got in, so I'm moving around a lot. I don't want to
Okay,
disrupt you.
that's right. I got your vote. Okay, Karen?
Yes.
Kathy, yes. And Larry?
Yes.
All right, that's 9-0. All right, moving on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Let's see, town council.
Thank you, Barbara.
Town council, I don't know if you're ready on that one, Bruce. It's $100,000 this year, which is the same as last year. Any comments on that, Bruce, or questions?
Right, sorry about that. No, I don't
Okay.
have.
Go ahead.
I'll move on. Karen, any questions?
No question.
Okay, I have a couple. For Jeff, are there any, you can talk about them, any cases that might spike the, out there that might spike that, their budget at all?
I don't believe so. We don't have any new claims, and most of the existing cases have gone through their adjudication. We did have one employment case that was resolved this year. We've had another outstanding drainage type issue that's been going on many years that was resolved this year. So I think it's, from a lawsuit point of view, unless something new comes in, we should be pretty stable.
Okay, yeah, I saw that drainage one. That went to the SJC, right?
I'm sorry?
That drainage case is Supreme Judicial Court, right? I see that.
Yes,
Didn't come down.
and that owner keeps appealing and appealing. And
Yeah, we'd be
appealing.
all across the suit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's gone as far as he can go.
We got another decision today where their request for reconsideration was denied. So hopefully that ends it. We'll see.
All right. Larry, questions?
No.
Jared, questions?
No question.
Joni?
No questions.
Jim?
No questions?
Mike?
No.
Kevin?
Yeah, just one. Do we periodically review our choice of town council and just go out and compare costs and contrast it to other firms?
I would have to ask Barbara that. I've not been here long enough to know what the practice has been.
We have not done that in the recent past.
This is Mike. I would say our past practice has been you stick with the firm, and unless there's some reason that you get uncomfortable with how they've been representing you or whatever, you tend to stick with them for a fairly long term and keep the consistency of the advice you're getting there. The actual costs we pay them are really driven by how many times we need someone on staff to go and ask them for some support on something pending before them or cases that come at us during the year. But we very rarely switch.
I understand how the process works, but it doesn't mean, if, firm A is $500 an hour and firm B is $300 an hour, for an associate charge, there's some serious cost savings that could be done there. I'm just wondering if we could do any type of comparison at all, even if it's at once every 10 years.
I don't know how long we've been with our current provider. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jeff, I didn't catch all that.
I don't know how long we've been with our current provider. I think the Board of Selectmen last year renewed with them for the current year. I didn't hear any conversation about desire to do a request for proposal, but I can bring that up to them if that's a recommendation of the Finance Committee.
I think it's been probably close to 20 years, would be my guess.
And I will say the rate we are charged per hour is very reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be closer to 25 years, 'cause, I mean, I just remember that we had some cases when the transition happened. And that was I think it was in the late 90s, yeah.
In 1996, when I started, they were the town council.
Oh, they were? Okay, then maybe it was mid-90s then, yeah, might have been. All right. Any other questions?
Just this comment about review of the relationship between the town and outside counsel. If there is a parallel between outside legal counsel and independent auditing, it is the common practice in independent auditing to be reviewed every 3 to 5 years, actually for the opposite reason than the one Mike mentioned. I understood Mike to say that there is consistency of advice. And in the case of auditing, the idea is not to get too familiar.
All right, Bruce, are you ready to make a motion? Bruce, you still there?
I apologize, yes.
Yes, you ready to make a motion
Yes.
for town council?
I make a motion that we accept the proposed budget for town council of $100,000.
Evan Smith, second.
Evan. Okay, any further discussion?
Madam Chair, can you read who made the motion and who seconded, please?
Sure, it's Bruce who made the motion, and Kevin seconded it.
Thank you.
So Bruce, we'll start with you with the vote, yes or no?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Kathy, yes. Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Kevin?
Yes.
That's 9-0. Okay, thank you. One is information technology, and I think that's back to Jared. Jared, you with us?
Yes, I'm with you. I'm sorry. I was after I realized we're doing that one.
Oh, that's okay. You can wing it, come on.
I'll wing it, yeah. So we have increase in the salaries, decreases in purchase of services, and overall total difference in $3,200. Not a whole lot, and I recommend we get this quickly through if everybody's ready for a motion.
All right, we'll go down the list again. Larry, any
Yes.
questions?
No question.
Jared, Joni, any questions?
Yeah, the salary, it's a 7% increase. Like, why is that high? There's only one person, right?
Yes.
Yeah, again, that represents the step in grade.
Because he's fairly new, right? A year or two?
Yeah.
Okay. That was my only question.
Okay. Jim?
No questions.
Mike?
I'm sure I'm going to get a positive answer, but I assume that the staff member is providing the support that everyone was looking for, and things are working well with this setup and arrangement.
If I may, Madam Chair, I think, go ahead, Barbara, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead, okay.
I would just say in the past few, Barbara can comment on since inception, But I can just tell you in the past 6 weeks, Jeremy has more than earned his stripes, making sure that the technology is working, making sure that these meetings can happen, making sure that our staff can work from home, resolving issues with phone companies and internet providers, getting software and hardware necessary for people to operate. So he has more than earned his pay in the past 6 weeks. And I'll let Barbara comment on since inception.
Yes, he's a valuable asset to the team. He, all the things that people complained about prior to us bringing someone in-house, I do not hear those complaints anymore. And actually, when we were going to have the Saturday budget meeting, Jeremy was going to come in, and Jeff can maybe help me out here because I don't have the numbers, but he applied for a community compact grant for
it was $100.
That's going to connect all the town buildings as well as the school. Was either in excess or close to $100,000, and he received that grant recently. So he's done an excellent job for us.
It was $192,000, close to $200,000, to do a fiber optic network between our municipal buildings, which is just going to add tremendous capability to our connectivity. Capability.
Yeah, I'm all set. Thanks.
Okay, Kevin.
Couple questions. So, first one's an easy one. I see that part of this budget goes into buying our domain names. How many names do we own?
And I'm surprised to hear that the fundamental base of the
Someone's.
I'm not sure. So I wasn't aware that you guys were going to do the IT budget tonight, or I would have asked Jeremy to join us. Do you want to hold off till your next week's meeting so he can be here?
No, I don't think there's anything to keep us from acting on it. I was just curious because I know that, you have obviously Sturbridge.gov, and the STA had a couple of different sites at one point in time. Just curious if this has all been centralized here, because the police department had their own at the time too. It's centralized here, how many domains that we have.
Yeah, the police department still has their own domain. The fire department might also. I'm not 100% sure on that. We can find that out for you.
Okay, that'd be fine.
Okay, you all set, Kevin?
No, I'm trying to remember the other question I had. I thought the domain name question was going to be easy, and it turned out to be more complicated than I expected. Okay, I know where I was going with. So in the past, in this budget, we've had multiple departments with their own internet bills. Is that going? Are they going to be centralized here, especially since we only need one access point if the whole town's going to be, connected via fiber?
Are you talking just town side or the school too?
Just the town side, because the school's unless you count Burgess, but I mean the school, like Tantasco is its own entity.
Right. So right now, most of the IT-related things are under the IT budget. So we haven't pulled in some of the software, like you just voted, in the town clerk's budget, software that's unique directly to her department. But everything else is centrally located in the IT budget, with the exception of the school. The school, Burgess, the school just still does their own thing as far as IT.
So I didn't really dig this up, but you remember it used to be the police department paid $600 a month for internet access, and then senior center paid $300 a month, and then the town hall paid $180 a month. Is it all centralized? Everyone paying the same amount for their access?
believe so. There's not internet, I don't believe in any of the individual budgets.
Okay. That's what I was hoping, because there used to be, and that's what I was looking for, is to be
Yeah, I mean,
consolidated.
we've consolidated a lot of things over the years into central lines or central departments.
I think we might have done that a couple of years ago.
Separate, because we asked it last year.
Oh, we did?
This has been one of my picadillos for a while. Why different departments getting the same internet access is paying different costs?
Some departments, and I don't know this to be the case, but particularly in education, they get an E-rate, which is less expensive than what general municipal government pays. I don't know if that's the case here, but I know there are situations where some departments may get a better rate just because of the function and just because they're classified differently.
Okay.
This is Jim. Kevin, I could be mistaken, but either last year or the year before, I think there was a resolution to this. For some reason, I remember everybody getting on the same system, and when you said the senior center, that clicked. And I could be wrong, but I seem to think we did that last year or the year before.
Perfect. All right, great.
Yeah, so I don't think we totally did though, because I'm looking now, I'm trying to find the answers for you as you're asking them, so bear with me here, but DPW still has some internet services in their budget, so I think what happened is when we connected Town Hall, Cobb, and the library to fiber, those costs went away for those three buildings, but at this point in time, all the buildings are not on fiber. So now this grant that Jeremy got will do the rest of the connection of the other buildings, and then everything will be under the IT budget. So there's going to be one more year, fiscal 21, that has some buildings that still are paying for internet access. And the cost is different because of the speed that some of them need for the internet in their buildings.
Okay.
It's not everyone's not paying the same cost depending on the services they're getting.
Okay. But in the matter of a couple of fiscal years, we'll be completely consolidated to one place and having every building connected on fiber.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, you said, okay, Bert, any questions?
No questions, Madam Chairman.
Okay, Karen?
I'm all set.
Yeah, I just had one question. I see that the budget for the Tantasco assistance is going down. Is that anticipated to still be there, or will it eventually just go away? I think it's
What was that again, Kathy? What was that?
You still have a line item budget for in IT for the Tantasco support. For $2,500 now, it is down from $7,500. Do you anticipate that will always be there, or do you think it will eventually go away entirely?
It'll probably eventually go away, but the only thing that, we don't know at this point in time, if there was coverage needed for if Jeremy was away. I hate to take it out 100%, but yes, I think we reduced it considerably this year, and we'll probably do that again next year if we don't use it again.
Okay.
So Barbara, I just want to follow up on Kathy's question. Is that like a mutual aid thing where if, we need help while Jeremy's out, they come to us, and if they need help while their IT person's out, they will come to the town?
Well, they have more than one IT person at the school, so they don't really get in that situation.
Okay.
I don't think that they would charge us if it was, Jeremy was on vacation for a week and something happened and someone had to go to the police department because something was down. I would hope that they wouldn't, but I think depending on what the circumstances is, we could potentially, potentially maybe need that money. We dropped it from 7,500 to 2,500 in the next year's budget.
All right, any other questions? Jerry, you ready to make a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move that we recommend to the town meeting to approve the information technology budget in the amount of $187,993.
Kevin Smith, second.
All right, roll call vote. Jared,
Yes.
Larry. Larry.
Larry appears, oh, there he
Larry?
is now, maybe.
Larry?
Sound off? Larry?
He's buffering.
All right, I'll come back to him. Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Kathy, yes. Larry?
At this end, everything froze and went silent, so,
So we're voting right now on the IT budget?
yes.
Okay, thank you. That's 9-0. All right.
So can I just, for Kevin's question, there are 4 domains. Sturbridge.gov, town.sturbridge.ma.us,
Yeah.
SturbridgeTV.com, and SturbridgeFD.com.
What was that last one? I'm sorry?
Sturbridge FD for fire department.
Oh, FD. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
All right. I believe we're done with page 3. We would go on to 12 and 13 tonight. So the first, if you go to the top of page 12, it's the Trails Committee, which evidently I never assigned to anyone, but it's $210. The purchase of services, I think, is somewhat dependent upon where they have a meeting that they go to, because one year it was $1,000, because I think it was out of state, and so I'm assuming that it must be fairly close by to be only $110 this year. And the rest is, I believe, mileage and, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, the 110 is for registration for a conference, and then the other 100 is for mileage reimbursement. $210. So, does anyone have any comments without going through everybody's?
I'll make a motion. Kevin makes a motion to approve a $210 budget.
Thank you.
Jim Waddick, second motion.
Jim, second. Okay. Roll call vote, of course. Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Well, yes, but I'm going to add a comment that it may look like it's only cost us $210 a year to maintain the trails, but this is a committee that relies heavily on volunteers. It would cost us a whole lot more if we didn't have the volunteers. And there's always lots of money in betterment and other budgets for equipment and supplies they need to maintain the trails. So trails aren't free, but they are nice.
Yes,
So my vote is yes.
depended upon the volunteers. That is very true. Kevin?
Yes.
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes, and I have a comment also. They'll have their work cut out for them this year.
Yeah, there's been a lot of down trees I've seen, and branches. Karen?
Yes.
Kathy, yes. That's 9-0. Thank you. And the next one is Historical Commission, which, again, somehow I missed that one. But I did reach out to Barbara Storch on that one myself. And let me get that up here.
There's $800 for consoles there. What is that?
Let me see, let me find the page number here.
Oh, wait, I read it wrong. It's 3.
I think it's 300. No, she said, that's for consulting. She said if the building comes into question, a professional may be needed to provide evaluation of the historical significance of the building. So that it's not anything necessarily definite. It's there if they need it. There's 400 for public notices because sometimes grants require notices in the paper. 500 is for conferences because evidently they've had an increased interest in going to the conferences now that they have a full board. And 550 is for display material for the bookcases and ways to promote the commission with brochures and things, etc. The supplies is postage, office supplies for $100, and the mileage is $200 for a total budget of $2,050. Yep. So probably the biggest increase really is in the purchase of services. There's a bit of a decrease in the supplies.
I have a question there.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm trying to remember, what's the third leg of the CPA? It's, open space, housing, and
recreation. Oh, no, that's part of open space.
Right. So could they not go to the CPA for the historical part of this? Or at least part of it when they need the quote-unquote consultant? Because, the CPA already has money built aside for administrative purposes to hire consultants.
That I don't know the answer to. I suppose they could. I don't know if it would come within the parameters of what the CPC uses it for or not.
So Kathy, looking at the table we typically get, there's open space and recreation we treat as one, historic resources, community housing, and community housing.
Right.
But I think to Kevin's thing, this gives them, and similar to what Jeff was arguing for some line items in his budget, this gives them a bucket of money to have available should something come before the commission and need to act, versus something comes up and then they need to go and seek money from CPA, and that may require a reserve fund transfer or a town meeting vote to get it out of that pool of money to use. So it's a flexibility issue is the way I see what their ask is here.
I think furthermore, if I may be recognized, historical.
I think we lost him again.
Yeah, he seems to be having some.
If I may, Madam Chair, is this a new line item? Because I'm looking at the detail on D39. It looks like there's been money in this line item for some time.
If these funds are authorized and if they are spent, it would be for someone who's trained in architectural history. Then, let's say the town.
I guess he's
He's got a little left going on.
Actually, Jeff, you're right that last year they had 800 in consulting, and this year it's only 300. So it's actually gone down, and they've broken out other things, conference registrations and printing. So maybe the 300 is a more realistic number for them than the 800.
I think Larry's back.
Larry, you back?
Yeah, I am. All of a sudden, everybody I'm looking at freezes, and I don't hear nothing.
Oh, well, you froze that up, too.
You were freezing, too, Larry.
Well, that figures because I'm not so hot. Should I repeat what I said?
Yes, because it got cut off pretty quickly.
All right. There are two separate specialties. Architectural historians consult on the age of a building. They know construction techniques from the past. It's not unusual to find an 18th century house inside a 19th century house. They just built right around it. So of interest to the Historical Commission to know whether a property, a structure is indeed old. It's another matter to have the funds to buy it. That would trigger the CPA funds.
Okay, any other comments? Going down the whole list. Okay, anyone want to make a motion?
This is Mike Hager. I'll make the motion that the Finance Committee recommend at town meeting approve the Historic Commission budget of $2,050.
Jim Waddick, second.
Okay. All right. Mike, vote. Your vote, please.
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Kathy, yes. Larry. Say yes.
Yes.
I guess a nod would do. Eric.
Yes. Yes.
Joni.
Yes.
And Jim.
Yes.
All right, that's 9-0. Thank you. All right, the next is debt service principal. I don't know who has. Oh, Jared, that's you too. Gee, you got a lot tonight, Jared. These are fairly self-explanatory, I think. We have two projects for which we're paying debt service, the Burgess Elementary project in Town Hall. This is principal only.
All right.
Barb, can you tell us how many years we have left on each of those?
The town hall goes to August of 2029, and Burgess goes to November of 2031.
Oh. All right, any discussion, comment about going through that whole list?
I have a question.
Fixed cost. So, is that you, Kevin? Go ahead.
Are we expecting any requests for capital projects and which will necessitate any borrowing in this fiscal year?
Jeff, Barbara?
Right now, we have an ongoing feasibility study for a new senior center, whether it be renovation of the existing building or construction of a new center. The product of that study should provide a turnkey cost for either the renovation or the new building. Once that information is presented to the Board of Selectmen, they'll have to decide how they want to proceed. If they want to submit that to town meeting to move that project forward, they may, or they may wish to wait. It's really dependent upon the product of the study and how they want to proceed.
Will that information be available shortly for them to decide how to proceed?
We're probably about halfway through that study. We've gotten some preliminary data back, but nothing near a cost estimate that would be reliable to take action on. The architectural firm we've hired has done some base work on the existing building and some preliminary field work on the two alternative sites, but there's nothing definitive yet on any of it.
Okay, so is there a timeline goal, or I guess, is there any chance it'll be considered for whenever this year's annual town meeting occurs?
In June? No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the debt principal? Jared, would you like to make a motion?
Kathy, this is principal and interest.
This is just principal first. They're two different line items, or two different categories.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I'm looking at details. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is just the debt service principal right now.
I'll make a motion that the Finance Committee recommends town meeting to approve the debt service principal budget in the amount of $1,085,000.
Kevin Smith, second.
Second. Okay. Vote, Joni.
I vote yes.
Thank you.
Jim.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Kathy, yes. Larry.
Yes.
And Jared.
Yes.
All right, that's 9-0. Thank you. Now moving on to debt service interest in the amount of $374,269. Bring that to you again, Jared.
Yes, I'll motion that the Finance Committee recommends town meeting to approve the debt service interest in the amount of $374,269.
Kevin Smith, second.
Okay. Any discussion? You can see it's going down a bit each year. All right, we're ready for a vote. Larry.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Joni.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
And Kathy, yes. That's 9-0. All right, moving on. Okay, the next page, page 13, unclassified. Who has that? Jared, Pete. Been working overtime here, Jared.
I also got central purchasing.
Yeah, I know. We have both. This is your night.
Yeah.
So, any highlights in unclassified? Take that first. Get another piece of paper.
Right, so on this on D41, you've got some increases, mainly in the regional retirement funds. The insurance blanket has gone up. The reserve fund is going up as well. And there's a new line item for the future wage obligation, $100,000. So I'd ask if we could explain that new line item.
Yeah, Barbara, Jeff, who wants to take that one?
Well, I'll take it. That line item is for two particular items. One is the results of the wage and classification study. If there are adjustments that need to be made based upon the study, there are dollars already in the budget to accomplish those changes. We should expect to get the first draft of that study tomorrow or the first of next week. Secondly, there's some dollars in there for any potential settlement before the end of the fiscal year to settle the police contract that is expiring in June. We've had some preliminary conversations about the contract, but this COVID issue kind of put a lot of stuff on hold. But we do hope to at least come to a general wage increase agreement with the police for next fiscal year. And those dollars would be pulled from that line item.
There might be questions here, so I'll go down the list. Jared, do you have any questions besides?
No, but I will know that there have been some reductions as well in the legal fees and the title.
What are those legal fees for? That's obviously separate from our town council.
That's the attorney that I use if I have to start foreclosure proceedings for non-payment of real estate taxes.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I forgot that. Jared, do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay, Joni?
Mostly, the biggest jump was the Worcester retirement, and I think, well, that would have been discussed at the Saturday meeting, and I think I read something about it as well. But what exactly caused such an increase to that line? And I'm sure it affects the Medicare tax. Obviously, I'm okay with the 100K because I'm on the personnel committee, so I knew that was coming. So I don't know if anyone can answer the question, Barbara, on the retirement.
Worcester Regional Retirement is our assessment, and so there's a plan in place that our retirement liability has to be fully funded by, I think it's 2040. Jeff, I don't know if you know the exact date, do you?
No, I don't, but it's a combination of our, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So basically, it's our cost to fully fund our Sturbridge's portion of retirement for employees, and I think it's 2040. It's some date pushed way out, but we have to be fully funded at that point in time. And so, this number historically goes up. It increased this year almost $131,000, and it will continue to do so. That number will not go down anytime soon. And it's based on the salaries. So it's an actuarial study and evaluation, and so it's based on the current salaries of those people who are in Worcester Regional Retirement, which is basically any full-time employee with the exception of school teachers.
Okay, sorry, I should have been a little bit more clear. I know what it is. I was curious to know what made the increase so high, but it seems to me that it's tied into people's salaries.
It's based on an actuarial formula. There's a lot of different components to it, but salary is one of the components, and then also the need for it to be fully funded. And it was not, it was not being fully funded. We get the assessment through Worcester Regional, so it's not a number that we set ourselves.
Right. Okay. So, all right. So I get that.
If I could make a comment, Jim, if I could make a comment, because from reading and so forth, I believe that pension fund is so grossly underfunded that finally that's why it's being accelerated, because it's just been neglected for decades, apparently. Is that a fair observation, Barbara?
It has been underfunded, yes. And then, depending what happens with the stock market, et cetera, during all this, I mean, there could be a loss to that fund going forward. So there's a lot of things to factor into what our assessment is.
I apologize for interrupting you, Joni.
Okay.
There's a one. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
There's a one-page summary of the pension costs compared from this year to next, or the current fiscal year to next fiscal year. I was looking for that real quick. When I find that, or I'm sure Barbara has a copy, we can get that to the board. But you're right. The assessment, as our employee population gets older and their pension value increases, so will our cost to maintain the normal cost. And then you do have a woefully underfunded pension plan. Last time I checked, it was under 50% funded, and you got to catch up. The good news is you had very good performance up until March of this year. Depending on how long this shutdown takes and what it does to the asset value, you could see further increases. You're going to see increases anyway. It just depends on, what happens in the market with the pension assets. And they still have an incredibly high assumption rate of 8% annually for return, which is really not heard of in the pension community anymore. So we'll just have to see what happens. But once I find that one-page sheet, we'll get it to you.
Okay. Joan, anything else?
No other questions, no.
Right, Jim?
Yeah, just to add on to what Jeff just said, I believe a lot of this stuff is defined benefit type stuff, not defined contribution. And contrary to what we're seeing in terms of lower interest rates that benefit us, it kills pension plans. The lower the interest rate, the less the value of the pension plan. So that's going to increase the funding necessity going forward, unless interest rates come back up to where they should be. But anyway, that's all.
Mike? Mike, I can't hear you.
I see him talking.
I see him talking, but I can't hear you.
Still don't hear anything.
Nope.
Mike, you're muted. His mic is muted.
Now he is.
Mike?
Yeah, it's muted.
Mike,
I think his headset died.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, Mike.
Okay. I just have to make sure I do this so I can hear you guys. The insurance blanket, can you explain what that is? And then the group insurance, how come, which covers healthcare, why is that only going up as much as it is? Is this part of a multi-year arrangement we had, or did you do something else on the insurance side to be able to control those costs a little better?
Barbara, you want to take those?
The health insurance, we received a 3.63% increase. It was not part of a multiple year. We just were very lucky this year. And hold on one second. The insurance blanket covers our property liability, workman's comp, different bonds for different individuals, auto insurance, public official insurance. There's a slew of insurances all under the general insurance blanket.
To enable audio controls, please enter your audio.
Yeah, it's funny we can hear Mike.
Somebody's calling in. Did someone just? Yeah. So we don't have a new participant. So everything. Oh, Mike just called his phone.
No, this is not. No, I just switched back to a phone.
Okay.
So, from the computer.
All right.
Okay. Mike, did you have any other questions?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Kevin?
Yeah, I got a couple, but
okay.
I guess I have some concerns about putting future wage obligations as a line item in here. One, this dollar amount automatically goes to the tax rate that's assigned next year because it's going to be collected, raise and appropriate for this budget. If we don't use it all, then we raised and appropriated and gave people a tax increase for something we don't need. And then the second part of it is, we're giving basically, since we've kind of said it publicly, that this is going to be money used to offset the increase in any union contract, it gives a target for the union to go after, if not more. So they know the town's, at this point, willing to spend $100,000, so we can get all of that and go for whatever else we want on top of it. I mean, it kind of takes away some of our leverage. So if your purpose is to just have money built in for the union contracts, why not hide it somewhere else like the schools do? The schools bury their money into their salaries. We used to bury this right into the reserve fund. And
Well, not,
then do you see that?
not all of
Go ahead,
the,
answer.
not all of the 100,000 is for the union contract. As I said, a lot of it is for adjustments that are necessary due to the new compensation and classification plan. Only a portion of that we would anticipate.
Yeah, but you could come back for that money later on and just, you take it from a free cash transfer and then build it into the budget next year when you know that actual cost, instead of saying it's 100,000, but it turns out we only needed 20.
Well, I would hope that we have a more defined number before we go to town meeting. And that way we can make the adjustments, but not have to really reevaluate the entire budget based upon adding more money.
So you see this as a one-time line item, and it's never going to be included again?
No, I would see that as if we adjust salaries, individual salaries using these dollars, that becomes part of the base budget and a particular line item for the following year.
Right.
Right.
It's in that budget line item. It's not sitting out here in some, unclassified area where we don't know where it's going.
Well, I would hope by the
I mean,
time,
the way-
I would hope by the time we get to town meeting, we've distributed those dollars to the line items where they're supposed to be.
Okay.
We don't know what the study is going to say as far as, what position would get a raise or what position, gets an increase or decrease. We don't know any of that information yet.
Right.
So the money, we're just setting the money aside, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff. So in the case that there is an increase, we would be able to, the town would be able to fund that right away. And then going forward, it would just become part of the salary item.
No, they wouldn't, because you wouldn't be able to transfer it from, if it happened after the town meeting, you wouldn't be able to transfer the money from this unclassified budget to anywhere else without a town meeting vote.
That's why we want to get this done before town meeting.
Oh, but wait a second, this might make things more complicated now. I thought the whole idea was that the line items, certain line items could be transferred between line items, Barbara. I mean, we just went through this with the town administrator budget, where we gave him some money.
Yeah, because it was in the same budget. This is within unclassified. You can't take this bottom line number and take money out of this and put it in police or put it in town clerk or put it somewhere else.
We have an opinion from both DOR and our auditor that you can. When money is set aside in this for this specific reason to fund future wage obligations, that money can be used to supplement the budget as deemed appropriate down the road, because the money is being set aside specifically for that purpose. So it can be used. So if position X was $2,000 of that, then we could move $2,000 from future wage obligations into Department X's salaries line, and that would be fine according to DOR and our auditor.
Okay.
Something here.
That's no problem. So,
Nancy,
Yes, Larry?
if Kevin won't mind, could I break in for a moment?
go ahead.
Thank you. If you will consult in the budget manual, Appendix A, the first entry is from Standard & Poor's. Turn to page H5, the bottom paragraph, which continues on page H6. Then on page H6, the first full paragraph. That first full paragraph deals with the post-employment benefits. You will see in that discussion on pages that Standard & Poor's does not anticipate
I think Larry's frozen.
So,
He's back.
Larry,
Stable bond rating, which is the town's credit rating. Please keep in mind that if we get too uncareful, we will wind up jeopardizing that strong bond rating.
unfortunately, Larry, most of that, you went silent on us again.
Well, look at Appendix A.
Yep.
First item, which is from Standard & Poor's, page H5, bottom.
Yep.
Continues at the top of page 6 and the next ensuing paragraph. You will see that Standard & Poor's does not expect significant budget pressure owing to the point we are discussing right now. Do keep in mind that Standard & Poor's has given the town a bond rating of AA+ stable, and the outlook is excellent. We have to be very careful that we don't jeopardize the bond rating. Got
so
through the system here.
So I want to make sure, I think I know where you're going with this. You're saying if I need $2,000 for my salary adjustments based on this new program, I need $2,000 for that. I need $3,000 for the police department negotiations. I'm going to adjust this budget down by $95,000.
It all depends. Well, it depends on what Standard & Poor's means when they use the word significant. It's not that you can't move money. It's that if you start making a habit of moving a lot of money, they're going to look very closely and maybe start frowning at what we're doing.
I don't disagree with you there, but I'm just curious of what the intent is with this line item right now.
The intent would be to finish the study, get the true cost of adjusting the salaries, and eliminate that line item by the time we get to town meeting. We wanted to...
That goes to what I just stated then, right? If I need $2,000 for salaries and $3,000 for the police department budget, that's $5,000 in total. I'm going to reduce this line item by $95,000 and reduce the budget accordingly.
Yes.
That's the plan.
If that's all it takes to make everybody happy, $5,000, I'm on board. But yes, we would only use what we needed from that line item, and the rest would lapse to, it would go away.
so potentially we could, that this decrease would happen before town meeting, and those would be allocated to the proper departments then.
We would hope so. That's our goal, is to make sure we can redistribute those funds before town meeting, and then if there are funds that aren't necessary, to take them out of the budget. We put it in here so we could build a budget knowing impacts and not have to add money later on and have to adjust other items later on. We wanted to make sure we had a full, transparent budget, understanding what the total cost of everything may be, understanding what we had to do to make it fit in terms of the spending cap and all those other things. And then if we do have too much money in that line item, when all is said and done, we could just release those funds out of the budget and move on. Rather than having to add money back in and adjust everything else later on, it's easier to take it out.
So what's the time?
Jim, I have a question.
Well, go ahead, Jim.
Then we would have to revote on the wage and salary lines that were affected by this transfer of money out of this $100,000 into the individual salaries for the position. We'd have to revote all of those allocations or all of those salaries and wages that we just voted on, or will be voting on between now and town meeting.
Right.
We'd have to revisit those.
Yes.
Yes, we would have to.
Yes.
Yes.
Kathy, this is Mike. This is not an unusual item. We've had this many times in the past. When we forget the salary adjustment study that's going on. We've had cases where we were trying to negotiate union contracts. Those negotiations weren't complete at the time we went to town meeting. We wanted to set aside some money so that when the contract got completed after town meeting was held, we were able to fund the contract and move forward. This is not an unusual activity.
It absolutely is, because anytime we've done that in the past, we went to a special town meeting to fund the contract that was negotiated. Money's never been buried in the line item budget. The only place that does that is the school, or has done that.
Well, the hope would be, the anticipation would be, we would have a salary number for that before we got to town meeting.
Yeah, well, you keep saying anticipation. Well, when is the date that you'll have that number? When is the date that the contract will be negotiated? Because until that's written in stone, this number is just FUD.
Right.
So do you have a date? When are my dates?
As soon as possible. You know, one of the things we're evaluating with, wait a minute, you know, unfortunately, in the last 6 weeks, the entire financial picture of the nation has gone up in flames, right? So it's very difficult to negotiate salary increases when you have what's going on, right? So once we get a clearer picture of impacts, it's going to be easier to come to a resolution on something as important as police officer salaries. So they could want a number that seems unreasonable, but when it all said and done, it seems very reasonable. Or we could make an offer that we can't sustain at this point. So, you know, until we get a clearer picture of what's going on, it's going to be very difficult for us to go to the table and say this is a fair option. And I don't want to negotiate at this meeting, but, you know, part of it is good faith. Right? Everybody has to operate from good faith, and I don't want to guarantee them a number or say I'm going to support a number when I don't know the true impacts of where we are with the rest of the budget, or where you are with the rest of the budget, or what can be sustained. So that's kind of where we are. I have every anticipation of getting this done by the end of June, before town meeting, or whenever the town meeting is. But we've had to do a lot of reevaluation right now, and we don't have a lot of good answers.
And I'll make a comment if I might. This is Jim. And Jeff, to your point that you just made, you know, you've been preparing, you and Barbara, this for a couple of months. And I'll just point this out, that in January, the 12-month CPI change was 2.5%, which is right on the number you were using. In February, it dropped to 2.3. And this month, it dropped to 1.5. So that's how unpredictable the market is right now in terms of inflation and CPI. So it could shoot up to 3 by the end of July. Who knows? So we have to deal with what we have now and hope for the best and just trust in everybody making their best effort.
Great. Let's move on. Bruce, any comments or questions? Bruce?
Did it again, sorry.
It's okay.
Yep.
Did you have any unclassified, Bruce?
I've been listening to all of them.
Okay. Karen?
I'm all set, Kathy.
Okay, I think I'm all set too. We have a motion. I don't think we do have a motion yet.
I would make the motion.
Okay.
That the committee recommends the town meeting to approve the unclassified budget in the amount of $4,430,694.
Is there a second?
Bruce Boyson, second.
Bruce? Okay. All right. We'll go to the vote. Joni?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Joe?
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Kathy, yes. Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
And that's 8-1, that passes. Okay, central purchasing. Again, Jared.
Yep, I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, you can wrap it up. Actually, this one goes down, so that's a good thing, huh?
Yeah, we have increases, modest increase for gasoline expenses. There's a new line item for exterior painting we didn't have last year. And there's a new line item for trash and recycling services and fire extinguishers. So the biggest one there would be the trash and recycling, and then the exterior painting. So if you could comment on those briefly.
The trash removal and recycling, those were moved from all the individual budgets into a central purchasing line. We have one bid now for all the town buildings. The cost is much lower. I think the public safety complex alone was paying about $9,000 a year for trash removal. So there's significant savings that we've been able to implement by going out to bid. And the fire extinguishers for the buildings, Robin, the facilities coordinator, was also able to secure one individual contract. And so we've moved all of the costs that were in the individual buildings into central purchasing. So you'll see as you go through the building budgets that they've been zeroed out of those areas.
Okay, any other questions on central purchasing?
Yes.
Kevin, go ahead.
Just, I saw that window cleaning went down. Well, we actually disappeared altogether. We're not going to clean any windows, or is that part of the town hall center office painting project that'll get the windows cleaned?
We clean the windows every other year.
Okay. And then fleet vehicles, where are we with our fleet? That doesn't seem like a whole heck of a lot. So they're all up and running and everything's good?
Yep. Yeah.
Anyone else? You good, Ken? Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Mike.
I guess I'm going to call on people. Mike, go ahead.
Okay. Gasoline, when are you going to go out to bid on gasoline? Because prices are down quite a bit these days, so I would expect that it'd probably be a lower rate for gasoline than a higher rate.
Times have changed since we built the budget. For sure. I would not disagree with that statement at all. But will that continue into all of next fiscal year? I don't know. We will be going out to bid.
And if I'm just so I'm clear, so the bid is you commit to purchase so many gallons of gasoline over the course of the fiscal year at a predetermined price for the year. Is that typically how you do that?
Some of the rates, it depends on how it's bid. Sometimes there are adjustments based on the times of the year. But I don't have a definitive answer for you on that tonight. I'd have to get you that information.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
If I may, Madam Chair,
Sure.
we bid regionally with CMRPC on some of our diesel and gasoline products and heating oil. So we accumulate our gallons with other communities to get a better, sense of scale with a vendor.
Okay.
But you're right, pricing should be good.
Yeah, I would think pricing would probably go down a bit. Other questions?
Just an observation, this is Jim. I think the $5,000 that's set aside for painting center office building in town hall is understated by quite a bit. I think it's very low.
It wasn't to paint everything, it was the pillars, which are starting to chip badly.
Well, I understand it's got to be the trim too, anything that's paint. And I don't think it's going to, just divide it by hours and you'll see what it comes out to be. But that's just an observation. Maybe I'm wrong.
We had just done the doors. We had just done everything. Probably, I want to say 3 years ago. All the trim on the buildings were done. The doors were done. The exterior doors. For whatever
So this is just for the
reason-
columns?
Yeah. So that was the plan. If you next time you're near town hall, they're really peeling badly. I don't know why, because it wasn't done that long ago, but they are. I don't know.
Might want to use a different contractor.
Well, we need to move forward though and fix them. Yes, I agree. Yep, I agree, Jim.
If I may, Madam Chair, I think with,
That low bid thing that kills you all the time, though. It's having to take that low bid that's a killer.
yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Jim. I think, overall, having Robin on board and coming up with a consistent maintenance plan and a painting schedule and a roofing schedule and an HVAC system schedule and all these good things that good facility managers bring to the table, I think over time you're going to see the value and see those maintenance issues be addressed as they should.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Otherwise, Jared, do you have a motion?
I'd like to motion that we recommend to town meeting that approve the budget in central purchasing in the amount of $329,000.
Kevin Goodness.
Kevin? Second? Okay. Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni? Joni?
Sorry, my screen went blank. Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Kathy, yes, that's 9-0. Okay, that is all we are going to do tonight. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to look at the minutes. We had 2 sets.
When were they sent?
What's that?
When were they sent? I don't remember seeing that.
Oh, I don't know.
Last week?
Last week, maybe? Actually, it might have been before the meeting last week, but I didn't know if anybody had a chance, and we ran late. So it was due for January 7th and January 9th. It was for the special town meeting.
Kathy, the minutes were in the same email that you sent out with the agendas for all the weeks upcoming.
Oh, yeah, okay, I don't know.
That's why.
Yeah,
Okay.
I remember.
Yep, they're there. I just went and checked. They're at the bottom of that thing, and I do see them as an attachment.
Yeah, well, sometimes I throw a lot at you.
That's okay. That was my bad.
Yeah? Has anybody gone over them, hopefully?
I'm reading them right now.
Jim, I have.
I just want to start with the first one, January 7th.
I found two things that should be. They're not. I don't think they qualify as amendments, just corrections. If you look under the second page towards the end where it says meeting minutes, it says JW moved the motion to accept the December 3, 2019 meeting minutes, and then it says LM second. Nobody stuttered. I don't think they have to have Larry's initials there twice. Can you see that?
I see that, yeah.
And then right below that, where it says LW abstained, I think that should be LM abstained.
Oh, probably.
And I think he abstained because he wasn't at the meeting. Remember that, Larry?
Yeah, you're correct.
Well, those are just typos. It's
Okay.
really nothing serious. And the rest of the minutes seem perfectly okay. I read through them a couple of times. So I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of January 7th with those typos corrected.
Kevin Smith,
Okay.
second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Larry? Larry?
Yes.
Thank you. Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike, looks like you were absent, so.
I will abstain.
Okay. Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce, you were absent, so you want to abstain as well?
Yes. I'll
Same with
abstain.
Karen.
Thank you.
Looks like Karen, you two were absent.
I'll abstain.
Okay, and I'll be yes, so that's 603. That passes. All right, and then we have January 9th.
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes of the January 9th meeting as presented.
Second, Kevin Smith.
And second. Any discussion? Okay, vote. Larry?
Abstain.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Abstain.
Okay. Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce? Looks like you were absent.
So, Madam Chair, I'll abstain.
Okay. Karen?
Yes.
And Kathy, yes, so that's 603 again. All right. I've lost my agenda. I'm sure we're on to old business. If I could find it. Oh, here it is. Old business. Anyone? New business?
Yeah, this is Mike. Jeff, can you just remind us, I know when town meeting happens is up in the air, but are you working on a draft warrant, and when we might have an idea as to what warrant articles might come to a town meeting when it does happen?
Right now, today, we have a draft of the warrants that are out to the departments to make sure that the departments have submitted everything they intend to submit. The Board of Selectmen will be looking at them next week. We can get those to you at the same time as draft if you want to review them. Currently, there are 42 articles.
Oh,
And of those 42, are any of those significant spending items? There's usually the water budget, the sewer budget. There's a couple of miscellaneous things that happen, the road funding and so forth. But anything out of the ordinary in terms of funding requests that are in there?
No. We've not included any construction projects or, the item that was discussed earlier, the senior center won't be ready for this town meeting.
do you think that there'll be any adjustments to the betterment?
We're evaluating those requests. So right now, the warrants as written are drafted as they're presented in the budget book, but we may bring some adjustments later on as we look to, working through with the department heads, yes.
And I guess that would affect SGA as well. Those are all the betterment funds.
Yeah, we're seeing what's connected and what's, you know, we're going through all that, capital items, betterment, STA, the base budget, all those things are, as I said, there's just so many unknowns at this point going forward.
So this is Mike. So I realize, let me just pick round numbers. You have a betterment budget of $200,000. It's split across a bunch of expenditures that the committee approved. Is that $200,000 based on actual monies that we have in hand for next fiscal year to spend? Or is that $200,000 include some anticipated revenues that we would have that may be in jeopardy?
I'll let Barbara answer that because we had a conversation about that today.
The betterment and the STA budgets reflect actual revenue because we cut off the revenue through quarter ending December 31st. So those are actual numbers.
Okay. So we have that money to spend. The issue before us might be, do we want to reallocate some of the money if we're anticipating a reduction in the available funds in the next fiscal year? But it's not always like we have to reduce that line item because we're going to have less revenue in it. That is a solid number that we do have to spend. Thanks.
Correct. Right.
So what constitutes the vast majority of the 42 articles? Are they zoning articles or something else?
You have CPA articles. Oh, go ahead, Barbara. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's several CPA articles. There's maybe 6 or 7 CPA articles. There's several, I want to say 5 or 6 articles from planning, and then pretty much all the other articles are the standard yearly articles. I think there's one article to accept a section of Mass General Law, but most of the articles are the standard money articles from year to year.
Okay.
I have gotten articles from CPC from Penny Dumas. I just haven't sent them out because we really aren't at that yet, but I can send them out at some point. So they seem to be on top of that. Jeff, has there been any talk about the town meeting date?
No, I know Lynn is reaching out to the moderator to see where he's at. My preference would be just from a get out the people to a confined space again, the later the better. But again, that, you know, the moderator and the Board of Selectmen kind of have to come to a meeting of the minds on the date. And we did reach out to the schools today, with their being closed, you know, what's the availability in June for the meeting? But I believe the further you can push it out, the more people are going to feel comfortable gathering in a space again.
Okay. Any other new business? Okay, then we will be meeting next Thursday. We'll keep going through the budget. For sure, we will be having the police chief. His last date is May 12th, so we do need to review the police budget. So I'll look everything over the next day or two and get it out to you what we'll be going over next week as far as the budget goes. So we're making some good headway.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Sure.
Just,
go ahead, Jeff.
The Board of Selectmen did approve my appointment of Earl Desert, Lieutenant Earl Desert, as the interim chief for now until a new chief is recruited and selected. So I think we're well served by Lieutenant Desert for the foreseeable future. So you may see him on with Chief Ford as you discuss budget next week. I'd also like to say that Joni should invite her dog to the meeting every week.
Board of Selectmen putting together a police chief search committee?
The charter requires that the town administrator appoint a 5-member committee, 4 members who 4 particular members and myself. That committee's been formed. They have met electronically once. We are in the process of developing the recruitment ad, and once that's done, we will get that posted on numerous locations throughout the state and the nation to begin the recruiting process.
Who are the members of the board? That's Chief Selection Board.
We have a police chief, a member of the school committee, a retired police officer, and a member of a local organization and town resident. And myself. I can get you the names.
Anything?
I can get you the names, that's fine. It's not a secret, I read it off at the Board of Selectmen meeting the other night. Reed Hillman, the chief of Southbridge. Yeah, I'll just get you the names.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, any other new business?
No, Larry's frozen in time again.
Is there a motion to adjourn then? I don't know, he just moved.
Yeah.
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
We can't do that.
We can't do it. Hey, Larry? Yes.
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Evan?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Kathy, yes. So we are adjourned at 8:55. Thank you all.
Good night.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Good night.
Be well, everyone.
You too.